The story begins with Gianni, the suave and successful businessman, as he hits the streets for his morning run. But wait, there's more to this debonair gent than meets the eye. While he may exude sophistication, beneath the surface lies a cunning womaniser who thrives on playing different roles to clap every woman, particularly those younger than him. Fast forward to the country club, where Gianni's buddy Fabio spills the beans on his wild antics, boasting about Gianni's 3 different alter egos in just 1 week. But does Gianni back down? Not a chance. With a sly grin, he suggests that maybe even his own wife wants to be clapped by him. Later, over a leisurely lunch with his friend Dante, who doubles as his doctor, the topic of Gianni's romantic exploits arises. Dante, the voice of reason, questions Gianni's exhausting pursuit of women with false personas. He encourages Gianni to consider settling down with a more mature partner, reminding him that the big 50 is looming on the horizon. But just as they're delving into deeper waters, a phone call interrupts their conversation. Gianni casually mentions it's regarding his mom, sparking hope in Dante's heart. However, Gianni drops a bombshell. His mother has passed away. After lunch, Gianni rushes to the graveyard but gets tangled up in a lively Filipino parade, mistaking it for his mom's send-off. He quickly mumbles an excuse to the confused crowd before finally finding the right spot. There, his twin brother delivers a heartfelt goodbye, but Gianni conveniently ducks out of giving his own speech, blaming his lateness on traffic. But when he tries to explain, his words take a sour turn, revealing his underlying prejudice against Filipino folks who are often seen working as helpers. As the sad event wraps up, Gianni's brother hands him the keys to their mom's house. Amidst the old family photos, Gianni gets a bit choked up as he settles into his mom's wheelchair. But things take a wild turn when he cranks up her old radio and starts dancing. And then enters a chick named Alessia, the new neighbor, catching Gianni off guard. She spills about her past helping people with disabilities, and in a flash, Gianni sees an opportunity. With mischief in his eyes, he starts pretending to be handicapped, hoping to get some plot from unsuspecting Alessia. The next day at work, we catch a glimpse of Gianni's no-nonsense business persona as he lays into his team during a meeting. He makes it crystal clear that his sneaker company, High Speed, isn't just about shoes, it's about selling a whole lifestyle. When the new intern Giulia suggests diversifying marketing to include Paralympic athletes and connect with disabled customers, Gianni scoffs. He insists his clientele is all about Instagram influencers, not people with disabilities. To make a point, he swiftly fires Giulia on the spot. With the meeting wrapped up, Gianni grabs a bag of old clothes from his assistant Luciana and dashes back to his late mother's house, still putting on his fake handicap act. There, he manipulates Alessia into joining him for coffee in the kitchen, guilt-tripping her along the way. Over coffee, Gianni learns Alessia is more into the single, fun life than serious relationships. Slowly, it dawns on him that his whole charade isn't impressing her. In fact, she seems to prefer outgoing, healthy, and wealthy guys, qualities that don't exactly align with his middle-class handicapped act. As Alessia prepares to leave after coffee, Gianni realizes he's losing his chance. Desperate to salvage the situation, he reveals his true identity as the owner of High Speed, boasting 148 stores across Europe and a lavish villa. Alessia, taken aback, instantly changes her tune, inviting him to her country house for lunch the following Sunday. Come Sunday, Gianni arrives at the address Alessia provided, but decides to park his car far away. As ominous clouds gather, he dons a raincoat and struggles to wheel himself to the house. Inside, he's greeted by Alessia's family, her grandmother, who relies on oxygen support, her brother, her parents, and finally, Alessia's sister Chiara, who arrives in a car. Gianni is initially struck by Chiara's beauty, but his excitement fades when he realizes she, too, uses a wheelchair. It dawns on Gianni, Alessia invited him to meet her disabled sister, not herself. After an awkward lunch, Gianni and Chiara engage in polite conversation outside. Chiara reveals her passion for sports and her career as a professional violinist. Though uninterested, Gianni nods along, trying to maintain civility. Back in Rome, Gianni shares the encounter with his friends. When Dante inquires about Chiara's personality, others focus on her physical appearance. Gianni admits she's beautiful but confesses he's not interested in disabled girls. As the conversation progresses, Fabio challenges Gianni to sleep with Chiara, a challenge Gianni accepts with a smug grin. In the meantime, Alessia decides to give Gianni back his raincoat and pops over to his mom's place. There, she runs into Gianni's clueless brother, who's totally in the dark about Gianni's fibs. Alessia, buying into Gianni's made-up stories about helping out in Botswana and feeling sorry for his fake disability, spills her admiration. Gianni's brother, caught off guard but playing along, hears her out. Later, he pulls Gianni aside and calls him out on the lie, telling him to cut it out. But Gianni just brushes it off by teasing his brother about his bald head. The next day, Gianni leaves a message for Chiara, suggesting they hang out on Saturday. But Chiara throws him for a loop by showing up at his office unannounced. Caught off guard and with no wheelchair in sight, Gianni awkwardly perches on his desk while Chiara explains she can't make it on Saturday but invites him to her upcoming tennis tournament for disabled athletes. In a bid to impress Chiara, Gianni spins a big tale about his company supporting disabled athletes. Later that day, he watches Chiara play a thrilling tennis match from his wheelchair, genuinely blown away by her skills. After the game, Chiara invites him to grab lunch with her and her disabled pals. But things don't go as planned during the meal. Bombarded with questions about his supposed disability from Chiara's friends, Gianni starts to feel overwhelmed and totally out of his depth. That night, plagued by guilt and uncertainty, Gianni battles through a series of unsettling nightmares. In the next scene, Gianni jets off to Turin, where Chiara is showcasing her musical talents with the orchestra. Determined to make a lasting impression, he hunts down an electric wheelchair from a local seller and secures himself a prime spot in the balcony of the concert hall. And guess what? The classical tunes hit Gianni right in the feels, stirring up emotions he's never felt before. After the concert, he catches Chiara by surprise outside the venue. She's curious about his sudden appearance in Turin, and Gianni quickly concocts a story about coincidentally being in the area for work. They decide to wine and dine at a posh restaurant. Over dinner, Gianni wrestles with the guilt of his lies and attempts to come clean about his fabricated disability. But at the last minute, he chickens out and instead confesses that he fibbed about his work-related excuse, admitting he's actually there solely to win her over. However, his clumsy maneuvers with the electric wheelchair are impossible to ignore, causing chaos as he bumps into tables left and right. Later on, Chiara escorts him back to her hotel where they share a tender kiss. But wait, Chiara decides to hit pause on any further romantic advancements, leaving Gianni feeling a tad dejected. Back from his trip to Turin, Gianni seeks Dante's wisdom on a sensitive subject, casually asking if paralyzed folks can still get excited. Dante confirms they can, but points out that Chiara's enjoyment may be different based on where she's injured. He advises Gianni to think about his age and ditch the traditional idea of intimacy, but Gianni shrugs it off with a cheeky grin. Next up, Gianni shoots Chiara an invite for dinner the next day, but before their rendezvous, he swings by to pick up the girl he met while out jogging. Meanwhile, Chiara shares a heartfelt chat with her sis over a smoke, relieved that Gianni sees her as a complete person and not just someone to feel sorry for. The following day, Chiara pays a visit to Gianni's fancy mansion. While Chiara glides effortlessly, Gianni struggles in his wheelchair, bumping into everything in sight. Over dinner, Chiara asks about Gianni's paralysis. Gianni spins a wild tale involving a mishap similar to Christopher Reeve's, but Chiara isn't fooled, pointing out Reeve's more severe injury. Gianni tries to save face with a funny story about falling off a pony, which gets a laugh out of Chiara. With caution, Chiara opens up about her own tragic accident, where she lost her ability to walk while others escaped with minor injuries. It's a touching moment as Chiara reflects on the strange twist of fate that spared her violin, but took away her freedom. In a bid to spice things up, Gianni unveils his mind-blowing surprise, a rubber noodle. With a mischievous grin, he tells Chiara to wrap it around her middle. Then, with a push of a button, water gushes in, flooding the room until it reaches their chests. Floating on the noodle, they feel weightless, like characters in a cool movie. Amid the watery chaos, they share passionate kisses and get all cozy. But when the water calms down, Chiara drops a bombshell. She admits she can't feel her legs. Gianni's shocked, but he confesses he only felt something in his forehead. Sneakily, he snaps a selfie while Chiara snoozes, planning to show it off to his buddies. The next day, Gianni shows off the pic, winning a bet with Fabio. But he keeps Chiara's secret. Later, when Fabio's wife visits, she breaks a glass and jokes about being as clumsy as a person with a disability. Gianni's not amused and kicks her out, keeping Chiara's truth hidden. Days pass with Gianni and Chiara not talking. But Gianni starts to change. He tells Luciana to find the intern who had the cool idea about marketing to athletes with disabilities for the company. As the sun peaks over the horizon, Gianni, fueled by a sudden urge, decides it's time to spill the beans to Chiara. With a quick phone call, he sets up a meetup, dropping hints about a juicy confession. Before you know it, he's at Chiara's doorstep, ready to spill the tea. Chiara leads him to her cozy nest, her room, where she loses herself in a tune, and Gianni sneaks a peek at some old snapshots of her. But just as he's about to spill his guts, he gets cold feet, backing down like a scaredy cat. Chiara notices his unusual calm and gives him props for his wheelchair skills, sealing it with a smooch, and pushing for the big reveal. But Gianni chickens out, dodging the topic like a pro. Their giggles cover up the tension, but deep down, there's some serious stuff brewing. Chiara opens up about the hurt caused by deceit, scars deeper than any physical wound. Gianni's petrified, keeping his secret locked up tight, afraid of the fallout. Desperate to keep up appearances, Gianni reluctantly agrees to introduce Chiara to his crew, leading to an awkward dinner date with Dante and Luciana tagging along. On the way, Dante, sensing Gianni's inner turmoil, nudges him to spill the beans, dropping a not-so-subtle hint about consequences. Faced with tough choices, Gianni battles between speaking up or keeping quiet for now. As the dinner unfolds, Dante can't hold back any longer and urges his buddy to come clean. When Gianni hesitates, Dante takes matters into his own hands, but their chat gets cut short when Gianni spills soup all over himself. Quick on his feet, he drags Dante to the bathroom under the guise of cleaning up. Once inside, Dante lays down the law, insisting Gianni spill the beans because the lie has spiraled out of control. But before they can get into it, a restaurant worker barges in, prompting Gianni to play up his supposed paralysis by rushing to the toilet, hiding his ability to walk all night. The truth stays buried once again. Meanwhile, Gianni's brother pays Alessia a visit and spills the truth, sending her marching straight to Gianni with a slap and a 2-day ultimatum to come clean to Chiara. Later, Gianni reconnects with his estranged father, who reveals his own past mistakes and urges Gianni to own up to the truth. But Gianni's terrified of losing Chiara if he confesses, showing just how deep his feelings run. Their heart-to-heart is interrupted by news of a trip to Lourdes, a famous Catholic pilgrimage site with rumored healing waters. This sparks a wild idea. Gianni will take Chiara there, pretend the water healed him, and win her back. Meanwhile, Alessia hints to Chiara that Gianni might not be the one for her, but their chat is cut short by Gianni's surprising call, inviting Alessia to Lourdes. Confused by the sudden trip, Alessia questions Chiara, who suspects Gianni may be seeking a miracle. Finally fed up with hiding the truth, Alessia drops a bombshell. She knows Gianni can walk. In a shocking confession, Alessia admits he let the lie continue because it felt good to be loved, even if it was based on deceit. The crew rolls up to the famous Notre Dame of Lourdes sanctuary, greeted by Father Walter, who's Italian, by the way. He's got a special request for Gianni, a one-on-one chat inside the cathedral. Once they're alone, Father Walter wastes no time. He's onto Gianni's game and gives him a heads up. Keep the act under wraps, or it'll mess with folks' heads, thinking miracles are going down. But Gianni brushes it off and carries on with the act when he steps back out. Meanwhile, Chiara stumbles into danger's path, unaware of an oncoming truck. Quick as lightning, Gianni leaps into action, saving her from a nasty accident. Chiara's shaken but plays along, acting like Gianni's sudden mobility is straight-up divine intervention. She hops on the bus, tears streaming down her face, and rides off. Back in Rome, Gianni's world spinning out of control. Fabio drops the bomb about his wife's fling, and things get worse when Luciana quits her gig. Seeking solace, Gianni visits his mom's grave, finally pouring out his heart to her. He then rehires Giulia, giving her the green light to launch the ad campaign featuring athletes with disabilities. Desperate to find Chiara, Gianni storms over to her folks' place, where her wise old grandma gives him a reality check. Gianni spills his guts, admitting he's a mess but swearing he'll be a better man. Things get heated, and Gianni accidentally breaks a vase, catching the grandma's attention. She drops the bomb. Chiara's headed to the Menotti Theater in Spoleto. With a warning ringing in his ears, Gianni jets off to catch Chiara before it's too late. Gianni races like lightning and catches up to the bus just in the nick of time. But Chiara's not about to melt at his feet. Nope, she's all sass, telling him she doesn't need his pity and waving the bus on. Next thing you know, Gianni's back in Rome, pounding the pavement with guilt gnawing at him. He pushes himself harder and harder until he hits the ground, exhausted. Then, out of the blue, Chiara rolls up in her wheelchair, catching him by surprise. She playfully teases him, saying she's just passing through and happened to be looking for running trails. Deciding to bury the hatchet, Chiara gives him a big hug and even lets him hitch a ride on her lap. Fast forward to the final scene. It's Gianni's big 5-0 birthday bash, with his brother cozying up to Alessia and Chiara's fam in the mix. The credits start rolling as Gianni sweeps Chiara off her feet, and they groove to the music with a slow, sweet dance. And that's where this video ends. Watch the next one and take care.